Now that the dust has finally settled on the 2021-22 NFL season, we can now turn our attention to what might be in store next season. Of course, the Rams picked up their second Super Bowl back in February, but could one of the last year's first season QBs be set to have a big impact on where the Vince Lombardi Trophy goes next year? Today we're discussing which year 2 NFL quarterback will make the biggest jump next season. Before we start, let's have a quick look at last season. As we all well know, the NFL is no joke. And many players, not just quarterbacks, don't have the mental strength to flourish when they do get a crack at the big time. And last season saw the introduction of no fewer than 6 first-year quarterbacks. Of these, only 2 managed a pass completion rate of more than 60%. Mac Jones of the New England Patriots and Davis Mills, who turned out for the Houston Texans. Of all of these newcomers, we can probably expect their second seasons to not just be marginally better, but substantially better. None of these rookie quarterbacks really separated themselves from the crowd, bar possibly Mac Jones. But given the fact that first season syndrome has affected some of the game's best ever players, once the 2022 season begins this fall, we could be set for one of them to step up. What did you make of last season's rookie QBs? Let us know below. First up, we're talking Trevor Lawrence. Stay tuned. Whilst Lawrence started 17 games for the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's safe to say there was a ton of room for improvement in September. The 22-year-old was seen as the future of the franchise when he was selected as the #1 overall pick, but what we got was a lot of turnovers. But whilst there were obvious growing pains, Jaguar fans can take solace in the fact that he's not shy in pulling the trigger. There is always going to be a betting in period, and last season will have served Lawrence well when figuring out what he can and can't get away with. However, his performances throughout the second half of the season would have provided cause for concern after throwing just 4 touchdowns in 10 games. He also needs to release the ball a little quicker, but if he can sort this out, he could be a staple for years to come, as he is still young and impressionable, and more importantly possesses the qualities to be molded into a Super Bowl winning QB. But first of all, the Jags need a bit of a rebuild, but we think Lawrence has probably done enough to suggest Doug Peterson can work with him going forward. Zach Wilson is joining us now. Stick around. In contrast to Lawrence, Zach Wilson finished the season strongly, but still only provided the Jets with 9 touchdowns from 13 starts. He suffered an injury during the first part of the season, but looked far better when he returned and can probably take confidence from his last few games of the season. The #2 overall pick did struggle in general, however, and by most metrics was the worst QB over the course of the season. Especially in the earlier part of the season, Wilson looked lost on more than one occasion and suffered confidence issues, which resulted in him losing accuracy. But he did show the odd flash of brilliance, and if he can build on his final appearance of the season, he could just be a shout for most improved next season. The Jets promised Wilson that they would make him a top-class QB, and if they can build around him and Joe Douglas plays his cards right and can figure out a way to integrate his draft picks around Wilson, he could just make the biggest jump during his second season. He will of course be joined by Laken Tomlinson at guard, as well as a new receiver in the form of Garrett Wilson, which should take him up another level, and when we add Breece Hall to this, it means we should really be keeping an eye on Wilson and the Jaguars next season. What have you made of Wilson's first season? We're discussing Justin Fields' first season now. Stay with us. Fields threw 7 touchdowns from 10 starts for the Bears and is, of course, one of the best deep throwers in the league, throwing 16 big-time throws per PFF, which is one of the best out of all of the rookies. He is also an incredible athlete, rushing 420 yards, and if the Jets can figure out a way to settle down what's going on around Fields regarding a head coach turnover and a questionable offensive line, then they could just have a star on their hands. Injuries did get in the way of Fields' progress last time out, but he was also responsible for his own shortcomings in the short and quick game. If the Bears can bring in and solidify a coaching staff who have the abilities to get the best out of Fields, then he could be set for a much better season this fall. He wasn't awful last time out, but he certainly wasn't great either. But there is definitely something there for the Jags coaching staff to work with. What did you guys make of Fields throughout the 2021 season? Next up, we have Davis Mills. Mills was a step above the previous 3 QBs we've discussed so far, throwing 16 touchdowns in 11 starts. The Texans quarterback got his opportunity last season somewhat unexpectedly and grabbed it with both hands. The best deep thrower out of the rookie field, Mills has a good instinct of knowing when to release and lets the play develop ahead of him nicely, which is, of course, a good trait for a QB. He also showed his ability to throw outside the pocket, which just adds to his game, and finishing with 9 touchdowns in his final 5 games just highlights how good he was. However, his 7.8 average depth of target was a little worrying and was the lowest of all this season's rookies, and his deep pass attempts will need improving as well. But Texan fans will take confidence from his decent form this season and will certainly be there to support him next time out, when he will almost certainly be given another chance to prove himself. That is as long as Lovie Smith, who has taken over in the head coach position for next season, fancies him as the Texans' starting QB. What do you guys make of Mills? Trey Lance is stopping by now. Of course, Lance's season was blighted by injury, but throwing 5 touchdowns for 6 games with only 2 starts means there is plenty to work with for the 49ers going forward. One of the more promising QBs, Lance has a strong arm and isn't afraid to get in amongst it on his way through the field. He has, however, been criticized for being a little indecisive on the ball, which we saw against Houston, but if he can sort out his anticipation and ball placement, he could be a fantastic option for San Francisco next season. The one problem is how much Kyle Shanahan would potentially have to change the 49ers offense to cater for Lance. But if he can figure out a way to get the best out of him whilst also molding their offense to better suit his skill set, the Cali team could be in for a big season next time out. Do you guys think the 49ers could be a danger next season? Let us know below. And finally, it's Mac Jones. Don't go anywhere. Easily the most impressive rookie QB last year, Jones has Patriots fans excitedly comparing him to their big hero, Tom Brady. Of course, it's far too early to start suggesting he could emulate Brady, but a similar dynasty could well be in the works if he can build on his stellar first season's work. The Floridian threw 22 touchdowns in 17 starts and seems as though he fits the Patriots perfectly. The New England outfit helped him out massively by signing 2 superb tight ends, which, of course, serve a rookie QB very well. Of course, Jones excelled in the short, but that's not to say he can't throw deep. He attempted 58 deep throws, ranking second out of all the rookies behind Lawrence, but it is his performance whilst under pressure which could be a little cause for concern. However, he wasn't the only rookie to struggle in this aspect of his game. We could also see a little more with regard to arm strength, and he would do well to use this offseason to address that. Whilst we know the Patriots offense doesn't need too much work to get the best out of Jones, there is a decent chance that the franchise will add a little more outside help to make sure he turns a good debut season into a great one when his second season rolls around. Jones was easily the standout rookie QB last year, and if he can keep it going, we could be set for another period of Patriots dominance. As always, thanks for joining us today, and remember to stop by again next time for some more fun and games. And why not do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so you don't miss any more great bits and pieces going forward. Bye guys!